ladies, gentlemen, Rwandans, friends of Rwanda, again, this is Michael Mupende, reflecting on the 30 years since we, the children of the exiled Rwandans, launched the liberation war 30 years ago in 1990. We are still in the month of October, and again, I'm reflecting on the history of this memorable month to all of us, the Rwandan people. It's 30 years now since the launch of RPF struggle of October 1990. When the children of the refugees who were predominantly Tutsi exiles who had been expelled from their country by their fellow Rwandans from the Hutu ethnic group. Hence, our major objectives to launch the campaign was to mainly return our people back home, which we had been categorically denied. The second issue, or the reason for the launch of the war, was to put an end to the dictatorship of Habyarimana regime and his MRND single party, and also to tackle the issue of segregation based on regionalism, north and south, or Chiga and Nduga divide that was a big social and political problem. To achieve our objectives, RPF made a 10-point program that would steer us towards our goal. But things turned around when Paul Kagame, who was greedy in search of leadership, started by assassinating the founder and first leader of RPF and other senior leaders in the initial stages of the war, to clear his way all the way up to the top of RPF and to become the eventual dictator of Rwanda. Therefore, our revolution was hijacked by the group headed by Kagame for his selfish interests. This day was banned in the history of Rwanda by Paul Kagame, reason being he wants to erase this part of history in the Rwandan history. For one, it reminds every Rwanda, every event that occurred during that part of the war, more especially the death of General Fred Rwigema and the death of Bayingana and Bunyenyezi. It also reminds Rwandans, more especially RPF and RPF fighters, the big loss and humiliation by the fall of Force Armée Rwandese to our forces as a result of those initial assassinations that were committed by Kagame. You assassinate a leader or leaders, you destroy the organization. That's what Kagame did to us. After the 2nd of October, or the death of General Fred Rwigema, we, the RPA, remained resilient. But when Bayingana and Bunyenyezi got assassinated on the 23rd of the month, the backbone of the RPA organization was broken. It all left us without command, coordination, or control. That's what Kagame did to us. And that led to our defeat. Kagame, who had just hammered his target, remained right there across the border, waiting for our remnants to so reorganize us and start something new, something that was to be written in the Rwandan history for Kagame's heroic act. According to his own history, after this phase of the war, after the demise that he caused himself, it is said in the history of Rwanda, Kagame to have picked up the war that had been lost and made it a success. In December of the year 1990, Kagame returned back confidently and in a relaxed mode. He stayed in Mbarara and paid some visits along the border areas from Mirama to Kamwezi, along Muvumba River and Muyanja Creek, where we all stayed for the organization. Surprisingly, during this time, in the Kagame tenure or Kagame's turn to lead us, Uganda somehow had agreed us to use their land. They let some of our units use their soil for reorganization with some NRA units. NRA was the Ugandan military, that's how it was called by then, covering us in the rear, and in that mix along the border areas provided us cover and protected their territorial borders. Kagame was quickly mentored and guided. He was provided confidence building by Ugandan topmost senior officers inside Uganda. This time, he was not in an enemy territory as before where we were. He was just along the border, and he was on and off from the border areas to Kampala, where he got advice, and occasionally came to the battlefield to see us. Therefore, he doesn't want this day to be remembered simply because he doesn't want that part of 2 to 3 months war from October 1990 to December to be included in the history of Rwanda, because he was not there, number one. He caused the whole demise that we faced during the first phase of the war. So it was not his war. He didn't want, as I told you, as I said earlier on, Kagame is the alpha and omega in Rwanda. Let's reflect back and see what achievements our revolution we launched in 1990, 30 years ago, has brought to Rwanda. The revolution we launched in 1990 has left Rwanda with contrary to what we initially set up to do. It has left us with anarchy and sorrow, because if you begin with national unity, for instance, where is the unity of Rwandans today? When people are killed arbitrarily, when there is no room for political opposition, when there is nobody surfacing among the people who initially campaigned or formed even founders of RPA and RPF. When you have all the initial leaders or commanders in that war almost inexistent in the country that they fought for, all the comrades in that revolution live in regrets. They are either dead, arbitrarily incarcerated, or scared for their lives and fled to exile. I am one of them. We have so many killings, systematic killings, beginning from 1990 through 4 years of war, and systematic killings thereafter. Is that national unity and reconciliation of Rwandans? We have everybody from the Hutu ethnic group who joined RPF, whether from the beginning of the war, in the middle of the war, and after the war, killed, incarcerated, had cases framed against them, or also scared to death and fled. We have examples are many. Those ones who came and worked with us during the 4-year war or campaign, including Setsenda Shonga, including Pastor Bizimungu, including Kanyarengwe. You know all what happened to them. All those we fled from Ruhengeri prison in 1990, 23rd of January. You know what happened to them? Only because they pointed the finger to what was inappropriate. Raising the pointed the finger at the killings of the Hutu, fellow Hutu people. He was scared to death. He fled, and he followed him to Kenya and assassinated him. Setsenda Shonga the same. He complained about the killings of the Hutu people. They followed him to Kenya and killed him. Viseruka went to his home area. They had killed his cousins and brothers, and he came and talked about it. He was incarcerated. I don't know if he lives. He's still alive, is alive this time. All of those who came to join RPA after the war from the former military, ex-FAR, they came and got the orientation in Gako. I was with them, starting from Leonidas Rosatira, who was scared to death, and he escaped, he fled. Those of Munyakazi, they used them, and later they framed charges against them. They're in jail today. Major Chiza, judge, he pointed the finger at the mistakes and the wrongs of RPF, and he disappeared. He got killed in Nyungwe. Those of Kanova Vogamenshi, they got poisoned and killed. Those of Mejandamaji were killed in jail. And many, many others killed in the Chibongo cell using trash bag, plastic bags to suffocate them. Many, many examples. So that is not what we fought for. Our 8-point programs were diverted. Rwanda is a one-man enterprise who owns it all. He owns the economy. He owns the military. He owns the police. He owns the judicial. And he lies to the international community just to solicit foreign aid that ends into his personal businesses to benefit himself and his family. So what do we have in Rwanda today after 30 years? After we launched that liberation war of 1990, we have just a total dictatorship that has been killing people for all these years with impunity from the international community. We have ethnic inequality than ever before. Of course, which the leadership portrays to be national unity and reconciliation. We have the poorest population than anywhere in the region. Just a small clique around Kagame benefited from the war, from the revolution. We have a military and security organs that serves a single-person enterprise, as I said. We have no rule of law in whatsoever, in every aspect. We have human rights violations at its highest peak than ever before. Assassinations, killings, poisoning, arbitrary incarceration, destruction of civilian property without compensation. They destroy these properties, they confiscate these properties just to pave way for Kagame and his cliques' businesses. Everything I'm telling you has become the order of the day in Rwanda. We have a state of anarchy and agony in Rwanda after 30 years. While we had launched this revolution to change the status quo. So that's what we have in Rwanda today. We have comrades in the struggle, casualties, have comrades, retirees, we have comrades from all levels of the civilian leadership, cadres, top politicians, founders, all forgotten and discarded. And we have a divided country up today, ethnically. The Hutu are considered almost second citizens in Rwanda today. It's a time bomb that we have in Rwanda. That's not why we sacrificed our lives, our brothers and sisters who perished during that war, all of us casualties who have injuries and everlasting wounds from that war. Therefore, fellow Rwandans, think twice